it's Jen, and I'm here to show you today. I'm going to complete a layout that I started at the end of my patterned paper scraps use it or lose it video. I'll link to that video in the description below as well as at the end of this video, but I wanted to show you how I'm going to add a title to that layout. And I wanted to, in Silhouette Studio, I'm going to show you how to do a print and cut file, and I want to take you all the way from the beginning of the file, which is a PNG, how you can save it in your library for future use, and then turn it into a print and cut file. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the file, and I have these files that Make Paper Art sent to me actually quite a while ago, so I feel bad that I haven't used them yet, but I'm going to use the at an angle alphabet. And when you open it as the PNG file, it just comes in like this black PNG file. And what you need to do is turn this into a cut file. Right now, it is not going to be a cut file. You have to create those cut lines because right now it's an image. And if I go to the send window and I choose cut, you'll see it's just cutting out the outside of the image. It's not recognizing these inner shapes. And so what we need to do is tell our Silhouette what to cut. So we are going to go to the trace window, which is right here. It's this little butterfly. It's a weird looking butterfly, but that's what it is. And we're going to choose select trace area. We're going to drag our mouse over that entire image. Now, with something like an alphabet like this, I really do like to save it to my library because I'm going to want to use it over and over. And whereas it's a customized thing and not really a font, it's a little bit trickier than just typing in the letters, right? So I want to be able to save this for future use so I don't have to go through these steps each and every time that I want to use this cut file. So when you trace it, it's going to show up as this yellow, and the yellow part is where it's grabbing and where it's going to cut. And go ahead and click trace. You'll see when I move this cut file aside that it has grabbed everything, and if I were to cut this out of a patterned paper or a cardstock, it would cut with these little holes where I could put other pieces of patterned paper behind it, or I could have something peeking through. I could put white cardstock behind it, whatever. And so this is a really cool cut file, and I really like it for that reason. We need to change up this file so we can use each letter individually, because as it stands right now, this is set to cut one big old giant alphabet, which is fine if you want to do a background with an alphabet on it, but I want to pull out individual letters to create a title. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on, I'm going to right click on the image, and I'm going to choose Release Compound Path. And what that's going to do is it's going to split up the images, but it's also going to split up the pieces that go together. So you see this A, if I move it away, it doesn't have that cutout portion attached to it anymore. So I'm going to use my mouse to draw over both of those shapes, and you can do, I'm going to show you the difference between make a compound path and group. So let's just do group on that A, and now you can see I move it around, it's one piece, that's great, it will cut just fine just like this. Because I'm doing a print and cut file, I need it to be a little bit different, and I'll show you the difference here. I'm going to go ahead and select over these two pieces for the B. I'm going to choose right click and choose make compound path this time. And at first glance, it looks the same. They both are together, they move around in unison, but let me show you the difference here. I'm going to change this to like a greenish color to print it off to match the layout that I started. And so I'm going to fill the letters with color and then print them off and cut around them. And so what I'm going to do is go to the fill color window, and I have this green color already chosen right here that I've just grabbed. So when I click the fill color on the B, it looks great, right? I want this part to be white. That's part of the feature of this alphabet. It's really cool. When I do it on the A, this one's just grouped together. It fills in the entire image. So basically what it's doing is these two cuts they're not one, they're not together. They are two separate cuts. So I could, if I were to ungroup this, I could click this smaller piece and I could change the color of that. So let me just show you what that would look like if you wanted to create a different kind of alphabet. You could click on this smaller piece, and then you could fill that with, let's say I wanted to do let's do pink. You could do something like that and do like a multicolored title. That's not what I want to do today. What I want to do today is just have the white showing through. And so I want to change these all into compound paths. So what I'm going to do, and because I plan to use it this way most often, I'm going to go ahead and create all of them and make them all compound paths, because in the future, I'm going to save this to my library, and in the future, that's most likely how I'm going to use it. So after I select all of them and choose make compound path, oops, didn't mean to do that. You always got undo if you need it. I am going to change the fill color. So I have this one already open. This is one that I already saved to my library. I have all of them, just, you can see they're compound paths. I've filled them all with the same color. I've chosen a color that is a good contrast color, like it's a high contrast color, something that I'll be able to easily view as a small thumbnail in my library. And what I'm going to do now that I have them all like this, what I'm going to do is group this together. So I'm just going to slide over all of them. Now they're each individuals, right? Each individual letter, but I'm going to just group them together, because then when I open it, next time I open it from my library, it will come in as one big piece, not a ton of individual pieces, and I can easily just right click it and ungroup and pull out the letters that I need, but it's just easier to work with when it is grouped together. I don't want it grouped together later, but for the purposes of bringing it into Silhouette Studio, I do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it to my library. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to choose Save to Library. And here you can see a test one that I did. I'll just do another one, MPA test cut file, and MPA stands for Make Paper Art, because that's the company. And then I can just choose OK. And then I can go to my library, and you'll see under User Designs, it's got that cut file, and you can see I had this one saved before, but it's not very high contrast. It's easier to see what it is in this bright blue color. This is kind of like that silhouette color, right? And so you can make it black and white, whatever color you want. But then you have it in your library, and you can put it in your folders. I have mine in alphabet folder that I can just easily grab this whenever I want. Here I've just grabbed it, and now it's open. You can see it's grouped together, and then I can just ungroup it, and it's ready to work with. Okay, so now let me show you how I'm going to, sorry, I'm just going to ungroup this. There we go, fully. I'm going to show you how I'm going to use this as a title. So what I want my title to be, I have this little file open. Oh, I think I closed it actually, so I could show you the entire thing. Okay, anyway, so what I'm going to do is have my title be character, and that is going to be the title of my layout. So I'm going to choose the different letters. For now, I'm going to move these letters off to the side. I just selected it all and moved it over, and I'm just going to grab the letters that I need for my title. So I've got C-H-A-R. I need to do multiple letters, and I'll show you an easy way in just a second that you can do multiple letters, or you can do a copy of a letter. I think that's all the letters I need. Yes. Okay, so here's one thing that I noticed about this particular cut file. Some of the letters aren't the same height, and so I'm going to that doesn't bother me necessarily when I'm doing different things, and sometimes I like that variety, but in this case I want it all to be the same height. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shrink the letters, and I know I want them to be about 1.5 inches tall, so I'm just going to go to my transform window, and then this second little place is where I can choose the dimensions. You want to make sure that this little lock is clicked so it's locked, because if you don't have it locked, here you'll see I'm going to change my height to 1.5, and if I hit apply, you'll see it squishes that letter down. Well, I don't want it to do that. I want it to keep this original shape to it. And so if I click on lock and then change it, then you can see it shrinks it the right way. And so I'm going to change all of them to 1.5 inches tall. Okay, so I've got all of them sized down. And now what I want to do is I'm going to actually change the size of my background because I'm going to print this off on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. That's what size my printer is. So I'm going to just come back to the page setup window. You can choose whatever size that you're printing on, or whatever, whatever size that you paper that you're going to use. And I'm just going to choose for my size, I'm going to choose letter. And I'm going to have it be horizontal because that just makes more sense in my mind as far as cutting it. And my title is going to go, I want it to go most of the way across a 12 by 12 page. And so being 11 inches, this is about the right width for me to kind of gauge how big I want my letters to be. So now what I'm going to do is, oh, I forgot to change the color because I opened up a different file. That's okay, I'll change it now. I'm going to go ahead and close this for a sec. Let me change the color on these so I can select them all. I'm going to go to my fill color window, and then I already still have my that light green chosen there. And now I'll go back to my page setup, and I want to click on this last little icon at the top here, and that's where we turn on the registration marks. And this is what's going to tell our printer, well, the printer's going to print the registration marks, and those marks are going to tell the silhouette where to cut. And so I am going to go ahead and change the style to type 1, and you can see it adds these little print marks here. Now you need to make sure everything that you're going to print or cut out is within these grid lines. You don't want anything to be overlapping because that doesn't give the silhouette enough room to be able to find those registration marks. So you need to make sure that nothing is overlapping in those gridded areas. And I usually like to, just to save on space when I'm printing things out, just to, so I can maximize my printable space, I like to change the inset. I like to move it all the way down because you can see if I move the position of it, you can move it in really far, you can move it out, and I just like to move it out just as far as it goes here. Under advanced options, you really can move each one out a little bit more, but I just find that 0.394 is good, and then I don't want them to be too small because I'm worried it will mess up. So that works out for me. And now I'm going to go ahead and arrange my word character. So I'm just making sure it's within these red lines, and then also it's not touching those grid lines. And so let's go ahead and spell this out. So CHAR. Now I need another A. So what I'm going to do, this is the easiest way I found. You're going to hold down the Option key or Alt if you're on a PC, and it changes your mouse into this, or your pointer here, into a little arrow with a plus sign. You're just going to click and then drag a copy off of it, and it's so easy. So we've got Carriage, so I need a C, same thing, just click and drag, T, E, and then you need another R. Okay, so a couple of things. This is a little bit long for me. I think I'm going to shrink it down even a little bit more, but now that I have all the letters sized to the same height, I can do it all at once. So I'm just going to select them all and make them fit here. And I think that's good. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can cut this out so that it's all one big piece, or you can cut each letter individually. I thought at first that I was going to cut each letter individually, but now I'm thinking I might just cut this out as one big piece because it'll be just a lot easier for me. And so here's the way that I'm going to do this. I am going to select the entire thing. I want to make sure if I'm going to cut it out that way, I want my letters to be straight. You could bounce them up and down purposefully. If you wanted to, like, you could even squish them together kind of like this and have them have a bouncing baseline on purpose if you wanted to, and have them all overlap like this. And that could be a fun look. That's not the look that I'm going for today, although it's more playful, and the layout I'm doing is playful, but I want them just all lined up for this particular layout. So what I'm going to do is select them all. I'm going to go to this little page. It's the transform panel, and this is where I'm going to be able to line everything up. So the first little tab up here is align, and I want them all spaced horizontally, like I want them all evenly spaced apart. I want them all vertically spaced apart, and then I want them to be aligned on the vertical. So that means that they're all at the same height. Now it seems like that they're spaced a little weird. Okay, that looks good. Although because the C is a little bit of a different letter shape, it moves the other letters next to it. It moves them a little bit. Like, I feel like even though that is evenly spaced, that I just still want these to be a little bit squished more, because it just looks more natural to my eye, even though they were spaced perfectly fine before. I don't know if that makes sense. But you can just do it and eyeball it, or do it however it ends up when you go to the transform window if you want to. First thing I'm going to do is go to send. I'm going to go to the cut settings, and you can see that it's going to try to cut out these middle pieces. I do not want that. If I go to cut edge, it's still trying to cut out the middle pieces, and I'm not sure why that is, because I thought that when you went to cut edge, it would only cut the outside. But it's not. And this, like I said, I just upgraded my Silhouette Studio, and so this is a new version for me, and I'm just not as familiar with it. But I'm going to choose no cut. That means that none of these letters are going to cut out. At least not the shape that they are right now. And then I'm going to go back to design. I'm going to go select trace area. I'm going to just drag over that entire thing. Now, because this is a lighter color, I need to up my threshold so it will grab that color. And then what you can do is do trace outer edge. And when I do that, it's going to cut out each letter individually, and it's going to cut right up against the edge. And when I go to send, you can see that it's just cutting out those outside pieces of the letters. And so what I would do is I would go to File, Print. I would print this out on my printer. And then after I was done on my printer, I would stick this onto my Silhouette. Now, I'm going to do this a little bit differently, but I wanted to make sure that you saw it this way. And I'm going to cut it out so that it has a little bit of an outer border. Okay, so now I have it traced, and I want to do an offset. So I've got my offset window open. I've got my whole group of my image grouped here, and I'm going to choose offset. Now I want my offset to be corners. I don't want there to be rounded edges. I like the straight edges, and so I just changed it to corner. And then I'm going to change my distance. I want it to be a little bit smaller. So let's see, not too much smaller, because I do want it to overlap, and I want it to be able to I want to have this all be one image when it's cut out. Okay, and so after it looks pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. Now I'm not going to worry about these little pieces in the middle. Once I hit apply, you'll see those go away. So now I have this nice image. I've got the cut lines around it, and that looks really great. So here's what I want to do now. I want to turn off the cut lines that I just traced before. So the easiest way to do this is to go to send, and you're going to choose the image. See how they're two separate pieces? I'm going to choose hopefully what's the inside image, and I'm going to choose no cut. And there you can see right there, it's only going to cut out around the outside. Now, if you want to, you can, like I mentioned, you can cut these all out separately, but I like the idea of putting them together here. One last thing I'm going to check before I print this. I don't want those red lines showing up when I print it. So the way that I'm just going to double check that, I'm going to select this whole thing. I'm going to go to the line style window, and you can see print lines of selected shapes. You can have that turned on or turned off. Now, if you had a black outline around this and you wanted that black outline to show up, you would want to make sure this is turned on. But I do not, and this will be good for me. So I can go ahead and print this. And the way that I'll do that is just go to File, Print. I can choose my printer and my settings and all of that and go ahead and print this out. And then I will load it into my Silhouette. And from Silhouette Studio, I'll go to Send and choose my material, which will likely be some sort of cardstock. I usually choose cardstock textured, even if it's not textured, because I'm just familiar with the settings for that. But I'm going to go ahead and print it out. Now, I have all of this other space on here that I don't want to waste. And so I'm going to actually choose a few other images to print out with this one just so that I don't waste space. So I quickly wanted to show you one more thing as I'm just trying to fill up my page here to do my print and cut. Sometimes if you want to find a color scheme, if you're doing a print and cut and you're just filling up a shape with your own colors, sometimes what I like to do is go on Pinterest and just find one. So I have this image from Pinterest that I just grabbed, and I can take this, I'm going to just cut it, and let's see, where's my... I have a bunch of different things open here. I can paste it into the document that I'm working on. And then I can pull my colors from this. So as I'm filling each one of these, when I go to the fill color window, I can grab this little color picker and I can just choose each one of these colors as I want to fill in different shapes. So it's really nice, really easy to get a cute color scheme that you love if you're just building it from something that you found that you already like the way the colors go together. So just one more little tip before I print this out here, and I'll share my layout with you. All right, so before I show you the layouts, I wanted to show you how they came out after I printed them and cut them on my silhouette. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here so you can see them a little bit closer. But here's that one that says character. Just peel it off the mat here so you can see I made it into all one piece, which is the nice thing about doing it together, right? Now this is quite large. You could make these smaller and make a whole bunch of your favorite words and make your own kind of die cut pack. I think that would be really cute, especially these letters that are kind of funky and fun. So that was the one where I chose my greenish blue color and printed it out. Now this one, there is an option on your silhouette to fill it with, like in the fill options, there's a pattern window, and I filled this with just a simple wood grain pattern. I believe that pattern was in, like they have several in their studio, like in Silhouette Studio already that you can use, so I just used a wood grain and filled it. Now you could just cut these letters out of a wood grain paper, but then you're not going to get it's not going to have this white behind it if you don't print it off. It will have that cut out, you know, and so it's just up to you like what kind of look you're going for. But you can see in this one I left the letters kind of different sizes and I made them go up and down so it's a little bit funky, so that was fun, and that's large for a title as well. And then I created this little quote and it says hashtag love you more than the most. I say this to my daughter and to my friend anyway. So this one I separated I didn't do the compound path. I ended up filling the parts that are white on these ones, I filled them with a darker shade of the same color. So you can see like this blue one, there's a light blue and then there's a dark blue. And so I just chose my colors, and I showed you that in Silhouette Studio, how you could choose colors based on a photo. And so I really like the way that turned out. And this is more of like, this could be a title, but this could be just an embellishment. It's not super large. It's, let's see, about 4 inches tall. So anyway, and then I did want to just show you how the cut file looks when you just cut it out, basic, you know. And so I cut out the word hey so I could put it on a card. So I'm going to make these things really quick. I'm going to put these on some layouts and show you how they come together and how you can get a bunch of different looks with this. Hey guys, so I just wanted to quickly show you a couple of projects that I made with those things that I cut out. So here's the word character on my layout about my daughter. You can see I just popped it up a little bit. I just used these pieces that I mentioned I had shown in my scraps video. So these are all just made from scraps that I punched out. And then I just added a couple of stickers on top of each photo and some little, these aren't enamel dots, they're actually puffy stickers that are dots on each one. I kept it really simple, and this custom title is really fun. Sorry if you can hear the cat meowing in the background. And then lastly, I only made 2 projects. I have these 2 pieces that I haven't decided what I'm going to use them on yet, but I'll share something when I do if I use them for something else. I just kind of cut them out without a plan in mind. But the word hey I added to this card, and this is just a piece of watercolor paper that I was testing out some new watercolors on, so I just cut it down and added it to a card front. And I put the word hey on here, and I decided to just fill in those empty spaces with some clear stickles. So this is crystal stickles. And sorry about the kitchen. There we go. And you can see it just makes it pop, and it's just extra sparkly inside the little holes. So that's another way that you can use this. This is just using the cut file as is, just how you can just cut it out. This isn't to print and cut. But I just wanted to show you a few different ways that you could use this cool cut file. So I just added a sentiment on some black. This is white embossed, and this is from Altenew. You are amazing. And that is all I have to share with you today. So I hope that you've enjoyed. Let me know if you have more questions about things to do with your silhouette. I used to work for Silhouette, and so I know stuff about Silhouette, but I don't use it as often as I used to. So, but if you have questions, I'm happy to maybe do some little tutorials, some shorter. This one was a little bit longer, but yeah, let me know. So thanks so much for watching. Here are some close-up photos of the projects that I shared. If you have any questions, just let me know. I will try to leave links to all of the available products in the video description. Amanda from Make Paper Art has also given us a discount code. You can use the code GUEST10 for 10% off in her Etsy store, which I'll also link below. I've linked to a couple videos here at the end. The first one is the one that I talked about during the video that I started that scrapbook layout from, and then I've also linked to another silhouette tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, and subscribe if you would like to see more videos.